Well, good afternoon there, children. Let's see here. It's been kind of a slow day for Uncle Brian. Um, I'm guessing that be your Alcoholics Anonymous coach today. Um, got a topic that's kind of near and dear to me, and it's something I grew up around, and that's alcoholism. But I want to dive into women and alcoholism. As I venture out in society, I see more and more women are taken to alcohol and abusing it. And so this morning, I figured, well, to research deeper into my topic today, I found three articles. I've tried to find three sources of information that I can use to help me go through this topic because I know, alcoholism affects people differently. Um, just kind of a brief background on my family history. My father was an alcoholic. I guess you could say still is. He doesn't drink no more, but the fact that alcoholism is a disease, it's an illness, it's a lifelong addiction. It's something that, and ultimately for me, it's a big red flag when it goes to meeting women. And guys, it's like I said, unless you're an alcoholic, then it might not be a red flag to you. But for me, and for probably the majority of other guys out there that are out there in the sexual marketplace, it's a big red flag. It's alcoholism will wreck your show. A drunk woman will wreck your life. And I think, and the three articles are found. I think the oldest article is a little over a year old. I believe it's the New York Times one I have pulled up here. And shoot, I think probably wants me to subscribe. Well, I might not be able to use that one. That was a good article too. I read it once, and I guess now I don't want to subscribe to it. But reading these three articles, I'm kind of curious more so than anything else as to why. I'm turning the ringer off of my phone. As to why alcoholism is so rampant in women, why the numbers are greatly increasing, but more importantly, why are women turning to alcohol to begin with? And and I just pulled up. We'll just point that New York Times one. It wants me to subscribe. I'm not going to subscribe, so I guess I can't use that article. I might do a Google search to get another one. But anyways, I remember now. I've just pulled up the NBC News. More women in the U.S. are drinking themselves to death. Research finds. And kind of the headline here is alcohol is still killing more men, but 2 decades of data from the CDC show that women's alcohol related mortality rate is rising at a faster rate. And I don't know if you guys ever heard the saying, and I've used it before. Um, Women sure can't cook like their mothers, but they can drink like their fathers. And that's a very true statement with modern women of today. They can't cook for shit, but man, they can sure drink. And the study here, and I remember seeing this actual uh, segment on the NBC Nightly News not too long ago, probably a month or so back. So I think a lot of this stuff is really making headway and getting attention of a lot of professional people like your health practitioners, your doctors, psychologists. But what I find kind of interesting about these articles is they don't say what's causing women to drink excessively. What is the driving factor for the addiction, other than your common stress? Even one article goes on to say something about single motherhood. Women with children under the age of 5 tend to consume more alcohol, and and what I'm thinking it is before I dive into articles, I want to tell you what I think is going on here with alcoholism. It's like anything else, but for a woman, over the last 20 years, what these articles go back to is, and really we've had a social change in the past 20 years that we're seeing more and more women take on more of a masculine type lifestyle. I mean, and they're going out, they're going to college in alarming numbers. I mean, they're outpacing men in enrollments in colleges and universities. They're outpacing men in the job market. Um, you're seeing a lot of women that are, and it kind of goes back along lines with my last video I did with when I did the video on, women just don't like guys that much. And reason being is here they're taking on more masculine roles. They're acquiring their own resources, their security, protection they can get with a watchdog, a neighbor, friends, family. They can get their protection that way. So I think a lot of the stress of working outside the home, providing for yourself, and if you're a single mom, you add kids to the mix. A couple kids to the mix, that adds a lot of stress too. So you got women that naturally are not supposed to be doing those masculine type roles like working, going to school. But now women are wearing both hats. They got to be a full time parent along with being a full time employee, working at a place, working a job 40 hours a week because they don't have a man there to help pay the bills. And so I think a lot of the alcohol abuse I'm seeing out there is from single women, mainly single mothers who, for some whatever reason, toxic feminism has told them that they could do this without a man. And so once the reality really sets in that, oh shit, now I got to be like a man. I have to go to work. I have to put in my 40 hours a week. I have to make sure I get my kids up to go to school. I got to try to work my work schedule around my kids' schedule to, make things work out between family and work. And and as a single mom, that's hard to do, especially if you're a single mom that raises kids over 85% of the time each month, because the default child custody agreement nowadays with no fault divorce is the mother is awarded by default the custodial parent, which in turn then she gets, and then the dads, like myself included, I get every other weekend. 4 days a month is all I get with my kid. That's it. And then she gets the other 28 days, 28, 29 days of the month. Those are hers. I only get 4 days a month. So when you factor in, these women they're full-time mothers, full-time workers, and it's a lot to juggle in, where women 20, 30 years ago didn't have to worry about that. Women, for the most part, stayed home, raised families while the husband went to work. It was like the Ward and Ward Cleaver scenario. You ever seen Leave It to Beaver? Ward and June Cleaver, he went to work 9 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday. She stayed home and raised Beaver and his older brother, took care of the house, cooked meals, did the laundry, did the house cleaning. I mean, it was the typical American housewife of the day. But now that whole system of the nuclear family is over, and so now women are stepping up, playing both roles of mother and full-time employee, which that is a difficult task. I would not wish that on any woman, but here we are. Toxic feminism has told women that they could do all this without a man. And I think what we're seeing here, and what I'm seeing and observing out and about, is that's not the case. And some of these women will double down on it. I mean, they will double down on this idea. And I think now, as these women are getting older, it's starting to catch up with them with the stress and the fact that, crap, I'm now post wall. I may not find a man. And so their only outlet is buying cats, dogs, pet food, cat litter, boxed wine, White Claws, and just live a life of of stress and worry all the time. So here we go. That's my opinion on why this is happening, but none of the articles here specify that. It just, this NBC News article pretty much, the gender gap is narrowing. Um, Previous studies found that women are drinking greater amounts of alcohol with binging becoming increasingly common, and that may at least partially explain the rising rates of complications like cirrhosis. Yeah, a buddy of mine's wife lost her younger sister to cirrhosis of the liver years ago because she was excessively drinking. Again, single mom to, I believe, one, no, I think two kids. I believe two kids. I'm not quite sure. It's been years ago. Single mom to two kids. And yeah, she excessively literally drank herself to death with cirrhosis of the liver. Um, 2 decades of data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention found that women's alcohol related mortality rate rose by 14.7% as compared to 12.5% in men. So women are dying at greater rates than men are. And of course, alcohol affects men and women quite differently. And that does say that in the study, but I'm not going to get into that. I just want to kind of dive into why this is happening, why women have turned to alcohol. And I've always said that if you have to use alcohol to have fun, well, you're living life wrong. And I'm not the only one to say that. I believe George Bruno said that a few times as well. Women just don't, when women sit around, they don't have hobbies like men do. Like my hobbies involve going fishing. I got a boat, so I go fishing. I got a motorcycle. I go riding. I have guns, so I go to the gun range. I travel, so I got things to occupy my time when I'm not working. So I don't have to resort to any kind of alcohol or other substances to pass my time, or nor am I stressed to where I have to seek out those kind of substances to kind of, I guess, chill out. True example, I've got a neighbor gal down the street here, living in an apartment complex. I got a buddy. I met her through a couple friends of mine that live over there as well. We used to hang out, go to the pool, and have a few drinks, have conversation, hang out. But one thing I noticed about this particular woman, she's 50 years old. She's a single mom to I believe maybe 8-year-old kid now. She had this daughter when she was 42, 43 years old. So this child's probably 7 or 8 years old. So instead of this is the typical feminist mindset, you know, focus on your education, focus on you get your degree, hit the corporate ladder. And that's exactly what she did. She worked for her dad in the construction industry. She went to college at University of Colorado Boulder, worked for her dad. Sounded like she made really good money, gallivanting around the country, traveled a few places around the world, just kind of did the young woman party her way through her 20s and 30s. And then met a guy with money at the age of 41, 42 years old. And I don't know if it was a one night stand, but he ended up knocking her up. And she's 40, like 41 or 42 years old, pregnant with her only kid that she's got now. And of course, this guy obviously he finds out that she's pregnant. He's like, well, I don't want to be a dad at whatever age he is. I mean, he could have been the same age, but he's like, I don't want no part of that. And so he exit stage left and left her being a single mom with a daughter. So now she's 50 years old living over here. I call her the old lady in the shoe, if you ever heard that tale. But yeah, she'll sit there and she'll drink herself fucking silly sometimes. I mean, we'll be out there, me and a few friends of ours and a couple other neighbors will come over. She's one of the neighbors that comes by and we'll hang out, have drinks, but then she'll drink to near excess. Another gal over there too in that same apartment complex. She's probably upper 50s, early 60s. Same thing. I mean, her kids are all grown, but she's been through, I think, 3 husbands, divorced 3 times. And so she's living stressed out to the max. Her outlet is also alcohol. So at 60 years old, she'll drink herself silly at that age. And it's like, why? Why? You girls have the welfare state. You're never going to go hungry. You'll never go without a home. I mean, certainly this gal's got to be getting alimony from one or two of these ex-husbands. So it's like, what the fuck are you guys all stressed out for? What I mean, but it's just the way I think it's the way that women and men operate. When women are forced to operate in a masculine environment, it affects them. It's not it's not easy being a man, living in a man's world, because men have to go out and perform. Women just they're there. Men have to perform, have a burden of performance. Whereas women, up until 20 to 30 years ago, didn't have to worry about that. You got married, you had the nuclear family, you got married, had a couple kids. She stayed home, raised kids while the husband went to work. And that boundary was never crossed until 30, 40 years ago. So, and continue on. Since the 1900s, there's been a progressive increase in drinking by women, and they're getting closer to men. So this is the article says since the 1900s, which could be 1990, 1980 for that matter. But if you look at who's binge drinking the most, it's women at midlife. The greatest escalations of women with the highest social economic status, those with the highest incomes, the most education, the highest status occupations. Again, what that is saying is on the sexual market value, or I'm sorry, that's different. On the hypergamous scale, women typically date across and up. They don't date down. So the more educated a woman gets, the more career opportunities she has, and the more money she gets to make. So if a woman starts inching up the corporate ladder, she starts becoming mid-level to senior level executive, almost to the C-suite in a corporation, her dating pool is very narrow. So like if you're the girl, for example, if you're the woman making $30,000 a year as a hairdresser, and if you're not fat or obese, and if you're a beautiful woman, your dating pool is a lot larger because you won't date guys below you. So if you're making as a woman making $30,000 a year as a hairdresser, you're not going to date the guy making sandwiches at Subway at $10 an hour. You're going to try to go across and up if you can. So instead of dating a guy below you, you might date a guy making 50 grand because he's, a step above you. I mean, your dating pool as a woman making 30 grand is a lot. You have a larger pool than you do a woman that's making, let's say, 150 grand. Now her pool is small. Okay. She's got a smaller pool of guys. So the higher up she goes in the corporate ladder, the less likely the smaller her dating pool becomes. Because now she's got to date guys at her level and up. Well, a lot of those guys are probably married or they're probably living the Playboy lifestyle. They're also, C-level, C-suite level guys or middle level executives. These are guys that are leaders in their industry. They're leaders of other people. Okay. And so the more money she makes, the smaller her dating pool becomes. So she doesn't have nearly the dating pool that the woman making 30 grand is. So we're seeing a lot of these women my age, for example, are taking alcohol to kind of alleviate that kind of pain because in a way, they know, women my age are well past the wall, and so guys are overlooking them for younger women. My guys my age, I'm 46, so guys my age are dating women in their 30s, older 20s, for example. They're overlooking the girls that are my age that are 40 plus. And so these girls know they're being overlooked. But again, they spent their 20s and 30s advancing themselves, being playing in the masculine field of going to school, go to work, being told over and over again that you don't need a man, you can do it all on your own. And they've doubled down on it. So here's the consequence. Alcoholism is the consequence of that. Other article I have here is from Newport Institute. Alcoholism in women, signs, causes, and consequences. Alcoholism in women is increasing as a growing number of women turn to alcohol to cope with mental health issues. As rates of anxiety and depression rise among young adult women, alcohol misuse is also going up along with related health risks. Well, there you go. The same thing I've said before. When you give up marriage and children and family and you really want to go out there and conquer the world like a man does, this is the consequence of that. Because by nature, women are nurturers. women are not supposed to go out and earn money. I mean, they're not. But this has been going on for 50, 60 years now. Women are earning money. And so, like in my grandparents' generation, both my grandmothers didn't work. Yeah, my grandmother that had, my mom's parents lived up in the Sandhills, they ranched, but it wasn't uncommon for the wife to help. But she never had to work outside the home and bring a paycheck. So same my other grandmother never worked, never got a driver's license, never needed to drive because why would she need to drive anywhere? It's not like she had to go to work or anything. And so recent surveys, and this article come out. Let me see here. These are all very, let me scroll down to the bottom here. I think this one came out early this year, I believe, but I try to, like I said, guys, I try to keep recent stuff here. This doesn't I know these are all within a year old. It's an issue that's been rising in the last probably 5, 10 years. Okay, recent. So they actually done a survey. A recent survey shows that levels of stress, anxiety, worry, sadness, and anger among women worldwide are at a 10-year high. Well, no shit. Gee, I wonder why. Because they've been fed this toxic feminism, and now as these women are getting older, they're realizing this didn't work so well. And I think one of these articles talks about Sex in the City from the 90s. And I want to see if I can find that. In conjunction with these troubling statistics, more women are developing alcohol use disorder. For women, heavy drink not only makes mental health issues worse, it also puts women at risk for a variety of physical health conditions. Now, keep in mind, another thing to bring up too, with alcohol use, it makes women more vulnerable to making decisions that they normally would not make when they're sober. And one of those is a sexual partner selection. If a woman is sober, she's likely to be more choosy about who she picks as a potential mate, even a short term, like a one night stand. If she was sober, she'd be more um, selective of who she chooses. But when she drinks, that lowers her inhibitions. It lowers her guard down to where now the lower the lower level, the lower tier guys, your T-rash guys, um, are more apt to sleep with her then. And so when you think about it, that also lowers a woman's self-worth, her value in the sexual marketplace. So if she's out there at the bars and clubs drinking and shaking her ass out there, there's a good chance she's sleeping with a lot of guys. So that's going to bring her sexual market value down. Okay. It's going to make her value a lot less than it is if she lived a sober life and actually vetted men for what she's looking for: long-term commitment, possibly marriage and children. And it goes on to say the research shows that the ratio is closer to a 1-to-1. Data shows that rates of alcohol abuse in women have reached the same levels as men. And it goes on to say, yeah, men engage in binge drinking more frequently than women. However, women in their early 20s report drinking and getting drunk at higher rates than their male peers. Yep, I see that. I do see that out there. As more and more women are frequenting the bar and club scene now, um, this is what's happening. And now we got an alcohol use disorder, AUD. I've never heard that till just today. Um, and then yeah, and it says why is alcohol worse? Again, it's the body composition is different for men and women. Okay. And I just touched on this as well as in this article. Moreover, women appear to be more vulnerable than men to many adverse consequences of alcohol use, including higher risks for alcohol related liver, brain, or heart damage. That is true. And it also goes on to say over the past few years, from alcoholic liver disease, specific cirrhosis and liver cancer, which researchers uh, primarily attribute primarily to alcohol abuse in women. And it goes on to say, yeah, and I did touch on this. Alcohol use disorder also leads to dating violence and sexual victimization. Vehicle crashes, increases in DUIs. And it goes on to say, women are they are more likely than men to have experienced sexual trauma. In addition, they are twice as likely as men to be diagnosed with PTSD following traumatic experiences, and they are four times as likely to develop chronic PTSD. Um, yeah, women, especially younger girls, if they are in a household where they are sexually abused by mom's new boyfriend or whatever, that does have a uh, effect on them over their lifetime. And women do use alcohol to self medicate through depression, anxiety, and other issues. Yeah, it affects self care, relationships. Yeah, it's just like what I was saying at the beginning of the video with my dad being an alcoholic. It affects the family. I mean, it destroyed our family. It like I said, it's not a good situation. I think this New York Times article, and I can't for life of me. Let me see if I can find another article here real fast. I think it said for women to be considered a alcoholic, you have to consume like what is it, 4 drinks within a 4 hour period. Let me come back here. That New York Times, I read that article and it was a good article. See, I Google women alcoholism, and all of a sudden it comes up the National Helpline, confidential free help from public health agencies, and here's a 1-800 number in bold print in Google. If you feel you got a problem, by all means, call. So, yeah, okay, let me take a look. This one here, I want to see. When this article come out? March. So this article will come out here. I don't know if I want to look at it. But you get to the gist of it. I mean, this is like I said, it's a big red flag, guys. You don't want to mess with women, date women that are alcoholics. Um, what I tell guys when they ask about first dates and stuff for women, I always say keep it under $40 or less, and it's usually a coffee or a drink date. And I've talked to guys that have met women on dates and they've actually agreed to a time to meet somewhere. I actually talked to a guy that met a gal at Applebee's. It had been a while back, and she actually contacted him and said, "Hey, how do you feel about meeting at Applebee's at like I don't know 7 o'clock for a drink?" But unbeknownst to him, she'd had already been there, or she was already there. She just happened to be, and the reason why I know this is because he says, "Yeah, 6:30 will work." So he shows up out there, and she's sitting there. She's got a plate of food. She's been mowing down, and she's overweight. By the way, she is overweight. Didn't really look like what her profile was, but she was overweight. She was eating, and by the time he got there, she was already belligerent to the bartender at tending the bar at the Applebee's here in town. And but when he sat down, he could tell she'd been drinking for a while. It's like, He's like, man, this girl was buzzed and just belligerent to the bartender, just mistreated him. And I said, yeah, I said, that's a bad situation. I said, but guys are encountering that on the daily. It's it it's crazy. And again, guys, that's a big red flag. You do not, unless you're an alcoholic yourself, then I guess you're all right there. But I know a lot of guys that would not date a woman that's a drunk. It's just that's a no. That's you want your life wrecked, yeah, date an alcoholic. That goes for women too. If you're a woman that doesn't hardly drink, I'm okay because I drink one or two beers when I'm home at night. I'll have one with dinner, and then I might have one shortly after dinner, but I don't. My rule of thumb for me is if you drink more than I do, we won't work out. We won't work. And so I don't rule out women that drink because I drink myself, but I drink very little. And so I've kind of adopted a rule over the years that if you drink more than I do, you're disqualified. And it doesn't matter if it's well short of the boundaries of being alcoholic. I don't care. If you drink more than I do, you're out. And so um, like I said, that red flag is near and dear to me just because I grew up an alcoholic, and so I won't tolerate it. And guys, there's a lot of articles here. I will pin these two in the description when I upload the video, but I just want to bring you guys aware of the topic because I don't know if anyone else is noticing it as much as I do, but a lot of women are. There are more and more women that are taking to drinking, and not just alcohol, but they're abusing prescription drugs, narcotics. I mean, you name it, pain pills, Percocets, um, marijuana, booger sugar, cocaine. I mean, you name it. I mean, women are out there, methamphetamines. I mean, it's just it makes the dating market that much more treacherous because guys, like I said, you have to vet for for everything. Vet for the single mother, vet for the alcoholic, vet for um, the guy friends, vet for mental illnesses and disorders, vet. I mean, the list goes on and on. Rich Cooper has a chapter in his book called The Unplugged Alpha that's dedicated to red flags. Read that. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. If anyone's got any stories to share on about the topic, please feel free to leave a comment or email me. Um, I do have an email address for the channel that I do put up on my videos, so don't hesitate to email me a story or a comment or something we can talk about and address. Like I said, this channel is for the improvement of men. I think we need to bring masculinity back. We need to bring men back, and so that's part of this channel is to kind of bring awareness to men on the things that other guys have experienced out there in the jungle. So that's all I got for today. Toodles.